Hello, our dear viewers and listeners. Good day. Welcome to our Teleradyo Eskwela. Tara na! The School on Air program of DepEd Tagum City. This is your teacher host, Miss Genevieve Pastor Martinez. Today, you will be learning lesson in Arts 8, Quarter 1, Lesson 1, Fabric and Fabric Design of Southeast Asia. So, get your modules, your notebooks, and your writing pen, and be comfortable seated in your homes. Also, we would like to thank our radio partner, Hope Radio 107.1 DXHS, where we are airing our lesson for junior high school. Let me give you our teacher broadcaster, Miss Maritess Bumanglag.
Hello there, students. We are very glad because despite the pandemic, we can continue learning through our Teleradyo Eskwela. I am your MAPEH teacher, Teacher Maritess Bumanglag from Jose Tuason Jr. Memorial National High School. Today, we will learn another interesting and relevant topic about arts. It is a common fact that every culture is associated with art. Art facilitates the preservation of culture in a form of music, paintings, and movies, etc. With the help of arts, we're able to learn the past culture and heritage of societies and facilitate future generations with the same. A lot of things in society stay preserved in a form of art, which otherwise cannot be retained by any other means. Our lesson for today is all about fabric and fabric design of Southeast Asia. Here are our objectives for today's lesson. At the end of the session, students are expected to A. Understand the nature of Southeast Asian arts and crafts and how they affect the life and culture of the people. Letter B. Compare and appreciate the similarities, differences, and uniqueness of Southeast Asian art. C. Create examples of Southeast Asian indigenous and folk arts, showing understanding of the elements and principles of arts. Our objectives will lead to our most essential learning competency, which is identifies characteristics of arts and crafts in specific countries of Southeast Asia. Indeed, it is very important to learn the historical background and basic concepts of one's country to appreciate their arts. But before we proceed to our new lesson, let us try to recall concepts you learned in your previous lesson in grade 7 about textiles and fabrics of the Philippines. Letter A. What are the two main types of fabrics? Yes, there are two main types of fabrics, natural and synthetic. Natural fabrics such as wool, cotton, silk, and linen are made from animal coats. Letter B. What are the local textiles fabric usually used by Filipinos? Yes, very good. Local textiles and fabrics are pinya, abaca, and hosi fabrics. Next, where is the textile capital of the Philippines? Yes, it's in Iloilo. Yes, in Iloilo, sometimes referred to as the textile capital of the Philippines. It's good that you still remember your lessons. To check your prior knowledge about our topic, let us have first a pretest. Direction: identify the countries of Southeast Asia based on the words presented. Write your answer on a separate sheet of paper. Number 1. Ikat technique. Number 2. Thai silk. Number 3. Golden thread silk. Number 4. Ethnic satin. And number 5, sin. All right. Here's your answer key. For number 1, Cambodia. Number 2, Thailand. Number 3, Vietnam. Number 4, Vietnam. And number 5, Laos. Were you able to identify the different words presented? How's your score? Do not worry if you were not able to identify the fabrics of Southeast Asia, because you will learn more about them as we go on our lesson. Alright, today let us visit and enjoy the beauty of the different countries in Southeast Asia and experience their exquisite and fascinating artworks by engaging in different activities. Are you excited? So, fasten your seatbelt, for we are going to travel Southeast Asia. But before we proceed, we may ask you some questions. Letter A. What type of fabric you are wearing today? Letter B. Is it colorful? C. What is the different designs presented? Do you have answers to those questions? Anyway, do not worry if you were not able to answer those questions, because for sure you will find the answers as we go on. So listen attentively and find the answers in our discussion. Let's start with Thailand. Thai silk is produced from a cocoons of Thai silkworms. It is mainly in Korat, which is the center of silk industry in Thailand. Thai weavers from this region raise the caterpillars on a steady diet of mulberry leaves. Thai silk making is one of the finest arts in the world, a product of a unique manufacturing process and bearing patterns and colors. Now, let's proceed to Cambodia. Silk weaving in Cambodia dates as early as the 1st century since textiles were used for trading. Modern textiles have traces of motifs imitating clothing details of an ancient stone sculptures. There are 2 types of Cambodian weaving: the ikat technique and the uneven twill. In ikat technique, to create patterns, weavers tie and dye portions of weaved yarn before weaving begins. Patterns are diverse and vary by region. Common motif includes lattice, stars, and spots. While uneven twill, it yields single or 2-color fabrics which are produced by weaving 3 threads so that the color of one thread donates on one side of the fabric, while the 2 other side determines the color on the reverse side. Traditionally, Cambodian textiles have employed natural dyes. When they need red dye, they use it from insect nests, blue dye from indigo bark, yellow and green dye from prohat bark, and when they need black dye, they used ebony bark. Cotton textiles have also played a significant role in the Cambodian culture. Though today, Cambodian imports most of its cotton, traditionally woven cottons remains popular. Rural women often weave cotton fabric which is used in garments and for household purposes. Krama are made traditional check scarves worn almost universally by Cambodian and are made up of cotton. Now let's go to Laos. According to Lao tradition, stories and their history were not passed on orally, nor was it written. They were woven, strand by strand. Lao stories were weaved in the intricate dense patterns and motifs of textiles. Unfortunately, some are elaborately fantastic and the motifs so cryptic that in many cases, only the weaver can accurately interpret the story. Most diverse stories are the ones woven into Shin, the Lao woman's ankle long skirt whose form is undeniable but whose patterns are unique to each skirt. This often accomplished in symbolist totems from inanimate or animate world. Crabs for resourcefulness, snakes for fertility, butterflies for beauty, birds for success, and so on. Though the skirts look simple and elegant, it is traditional that every woman in Laos weaves all the scenes that she would wear throughout her lifetime. She uses folk icons to express personal views. Golden thread silks were born in Vietnam. Many of our Vietnamese fabrics originated from Ha Dong, the center of weaving and sericulture for centuries. Old jacquard looms are still used, weaving patterns containing centuries-old symbols and characters. Now let's move on to Vietnam. Some popular Vietnamese silk fabrics ranges are Shantung Taffeta, Bengalin weave, ebony satin, and all-natural lustrous silk hand-woven in southern Vietnam over century but was only recently revitalized by the designer Ho Viet Chuang. Let's move on to Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. The fabric most common to both countries is the batik. The term batik is an Indonesian Malay word believed to be related to the Malay word titik, which means point, dot, or drop. The drop actions refers to the process of dyeing the fabric by making use of the resist techniques, covering areas of cloth with a dye-resistant substance, usually hot wax, to prevent them from absorbing colors. This technique has been taught for over 1,000 years. There are two categories of batik design. Number 1, geometric motifs, which uses non-representational shapes. Number 2, free-form designs, which uses irregular or asymmetrical shapes. Modern batik designs depends on the creativity of their designs. Naturalistic motifs like leaves, flowers, and birds have been utilized to create elaborate and intricate designs. Modern designs also include more colors, courtesy of chemical dyes that artists are not bound by the strict guidelines of traditional practices when craftsmen were dependent on natural dyes. In Malaysia, the states of Kelatan and Terengganu are considered the cradle where batik first flourished, reaching even Singapore's shores. There are two main types of batik that are produced there. First is the hand-painted, where the artist uses cantings, a small copper container with one or more different size pipes. Second, black printed, is done by welding together strips of metal to form metal block. The metal block is then dipped into molten wax and pressed against the fabric to make a pattern. Leaves and flowers in Malaysian batik are incorporated to avoid the interpretations of human and animal images as idolatry, in accordance with the local Islamic doctrine. This makes their batik look similar to that of Indonesia. However, the Malaysian batik is famous for its geometrical designs or spirals. The methods of Malaysian batik making is also different from those of Indonesian Javanese batik. Their patterns are larger and simpler. More brush painting is applied to be able to put a lighter and more vibrant colors than deep-colored Javanese batik. In Singapore, the existence and use of batik has been recorded since the 12th century but has receded in popularity through the years. Nowadays, batik is featured in as the uniform of flight attendants for the official flag carrier airlines of Singapore, Indonesia, and Malaysia. Then, we move to Brunei. Brunei traditional textiles is also called batik, but it is uniquely different from Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. Its designs have their national flower simpor, sumboy-sumboy or pitcher plant, and Brunei's traditional design of air mulay. Different techniques are used in Brunei's batik, like airbrushing, cracking, bubble, rainbow, sprinkle, geometry, and marble. These techniques are applied on fabrics like cotton, chiffon, linen, and brocade. Handmade batik designs are created through the art of layering and mixing colors injected with creativity. Handmade batik designs are created through the art of layering and mixing colors injected with creativity. That's all for our discussion. Did you understand? I hope so. Now that you are done with our discussion, let us have an activity. Are you excited? Let's call it compare and contrast. Direction. Determine the differences and similarities of batik fabric in Southeast Asian country. Complete the table by providing the necessary information to describe the batik of the selected countries. Write your answers in a sheet of paper. And here's the table. In the table, you are going to fill in the design, material use or waste, techniques, and elements and principles of arts applied in each countries. Number 1, Malaysia. Number 2, Indonesia. Number 3, Singapore. Number 4, Brunei. Are you done? Okay, time is up. Let's check your answers. For number 1, Malaysia. Malaysia uses geometrical designs. Material used and ways, hand-painted or black-printed. Techniques, geometry with smaller patterns. Elements and principles of arts applied. Patterns, colors, lines, shapes, variety, and forms. For number 2, Indonesia. Design geometrical. Material used, hand-painted, and black-printed. Techniques, geometry with larger patterns and simpler patterns. Elements of arts and principles applied, patterns, colors, lines, shapes, variety, and forms. For number 3, Singapore. Design naturalistic. Materials used, hand-painted or black-printed. The techniques, naturalistic and free-form. And they used patterns, colors, lines, shapes, variety, and form as the elements of arts and principles. Number 4, Brunei. Design used, traditional. Material used, hand-drawn using metal blocks, screen printing, and digital printing. Their techniques are airbrushing, cracking, bubble, rainbow, sprinkle, geometry, and marble. And the elements and principles of arts applied are patterns, colors, lines, shapes, variety, and forms. How's your score? Did you get it correctly? That's great! Before we proceed to our assessment, let me ask you this question. Letter A. Why is it important to study foreign arts? Yes, it is important because it gives you exposure to other humanities subjects, relating them to draw conclusions and critical evaluations of different artworks. To assess your understanding of our lesson, here is another activity. Direction. Read and analyze each statement and write the letter of your answer on a separate sheet of paper. Number 1. Stories of their history were woven, not written. This is according to what tradition? A. Cambodia. B. Lao. C. Singaporean. D. Vietnamese. The correct answer is letter B. Lao. Number 2. What country used leaves and flowers as most common motifs of batik? A. Brunei. B. Cambodia. C. Indonesia. D. Malaysia. The correct answer is Malaysia. Number 3. Below are the different techniques used in Brunei's batik. Which of these does not belong to the group? A. Airbrushing. B. Bubble. C. Cracking. D. Digital printing. The correct answer is digital printing. For number 4, what are the two main types of Cambodian weaving? A. Ikat technique and uneven twill. B. Geometric and free form. C. Wat weaving and silk weaving. D. Shantong taffeta and Bengalin weave. The correct answer is ikat technique and uneven twill. Number 5. The word batik is thought to be derived from what word? A. Titik. B. Kluwongan. C. Kulit. D. Potri. The correct answer is titik. How's your score? Did you get it correctly? That's great! For your assignment, perform the activity in your module on pages 8 to 9 entitled Fabric Printing. Direction: follow the step-by-step process in fabric printing activity. After accomplishing the given activities, submit your outputs to your MAPEH 8 teacher. Always remember, exploring arts from all cultures gives you a better understanding of your own culture. Another session has again ended. I hope that you learned a lesson from our discussion today. Till next time, keep safe!
That was great, Teacher Maritess. Thank you so much. Again, we would like to thank Hope Radio 107.1 DXHS, where we are airing our lessons in junior high school. Thank you for being part of this program. This has been your teacher host, Genevieve Pastor Martinez, saying goodbye and see you in the next episode.